awaydaysbeer.com. Proud to partner with Talking Town. For only $14.99, grab your ITFC Legends Pack from The Beat to Hoppy Robson to Brazil's Best and Pablo's Pal. Whatever you need, whatever you want. ITFC Legends Pack, $14.99 at awaydaysbeer.com. Grab it today. Mass Creations are proud partners of Talking Town. High quality web and software development. From web development to SEO and everything in between, make your vision a reality with Mass Creations. Call 07896 904 571 or visit masscreations.co.uk or email info@masscreations.co.uk. Mass Creations, proud partners of Talking Town. Don't forget, tell them you came from Talking Town to get 10% off. Best Burger in Stowmarket, proud partners of Talking Town. Call 01449 680 058 to book a table today. It's the summer. It's the wrong intro. But it's the summer. We're all on our holidays. Who gives a shit? Welcome in, my friends. And you are my friends. It is Monday, 8:30. Talking Town extra time. As you can see, we're all laid back here at Talking Town Towers now. The season is finished and there's comings. Well, there's goings and there's comings off the pitch anyway. But people are coming, people are going. There's kits being linked all over the internet and all sorts of juicy affairs to be discussed right here, right now. As always, let's get a few things out of the way. You can support us on Ko-Fi. Link is in the chat. We want to make this show a really interactive, really fan-friendly, for fans, by fans show. So, of course, there is an active chat, which I can see is very active. Good evening, Victoria, who was here last week. Didn't like Callum Connolly. Julian Carver's in the room. Welcome in. Colin the Goat is in. Josh Russell, welcome in. Heidi, Emerson, Lee, Ashley Bell. Teddy Bishop proving that anyone can look good with a carefully edited highlights package. No comment, my friend. No comment. Mark, all the way from Ireland. I hope business is well. Really good. And, of course, there will be a link throughout the show. We have got various different topics to discuss this evening. So let's get cracking on. Let's bring in our first contributor. He is, of course, Scout, Mr. Luke Penning. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very well.
Good, man. How's your summer holidays going?
Yeah, it's going well. You know, like obviously got work and that, but you know, it's that exciting time of the year where you know we're going to get players coming in. Unfortunately, we haven't had anybody in yet. Obviously, we're probably going to talk about Sonny Bradley and what didn't happen, but with the backroom staff coming in, there's optimism, you know, about a new change, and hopefully that's the trigger that we need to hopefully start a very exciting summer. Absolutely, yeah. We'll get into all of those different topics as the show unfolds. Matt Dunn says, nice intro. Welcome in, Matt. The Durrants are in. Colin, hi, Durrants. Jason Clayton, good evening. So, yeah, but you've got a couple of videos, haven't you, that you've been trying to get out for a couple of days now. Technical difficulties here and there. Have you got any more in the can? Or any more in the pipeline? I've got like 7 ready to go. It's just about getting them right. So it's literally just about releasing them and getting time. So I'm in the process of getting like a new computer, which is going to slow stuff around for the moment. But when that happens in about a week's time, I'm going to be full steam ahead in the summer. So
Talk us through the process very quickly before we bring in our third contributor. Do you see a player on the on a game and think, do you know what, I think he would match a number of Town's targets? How do you get to the point where you have 7 videos ready to go?
Yeah, it's a variation, really. You know, like I'm that kind of person that likes to watch a variation of football, variation of different leagues. So I like to watch a lot of Irish and Scottish football in my spare time, as well as German and Dutch. So when I watch a game, so most Friday nights they put on BBC Scotland, they put on like a Scottish Championship, which is like the second division of Scottish football, which you see a lot of players from that league go on to League 1 and League 2 clubs. So I watched that. One of the players that I'll be talking about tonight as well. I watched him, and this isn't just a case of watching him once. I watched him once, really, really liked him, and then I ended up watching like 10 or 15 games of him. I ended up getting like a free trial to Y Scout, which is a lot of software that a lot of scouts use and recruitment people in football. So I ended up watching a lot of his games, and then end up downloading them and then going through and actually going through each game and setting up timestamps for when certain things happened. And it's a very long, strenuous process. So you get a lot of detail. It's not just a case of seeing someone once and then saying, I think he's good because of this. Just like a long detail behind it. And then that way, and a lot of things, like when I first started making videos, it was kind of more off the cuff. But in most recent times on videos on my channel, I've tried to narrate it or in a script, in the sense that I'm kind of telling a story. Like if there's a specific topic that's been around that week, I try and intertwine that into what I'm talking about. So yeah, I think it's something that it doesn't, the editing process is something that I've done for years, because I do like a lot of video production stuff outside of doing Ipswich stuff for YouTube. So that relatively comes pretty quickly. It's just collating all the information together and polishing it, which can sometimes take a little bit of time.
Speaking of which, I did put a tweet out the weekend, because we are obviously in our summer holiday period and we're looking for next year. If I haven't come back to you yet, because I have had a number of DMs, we are looking for writers, vloggers, bloggers, and of course more contributors, more people who want to sit in that seat where Luke is sat. Perhaps not that one, because that's the one Luke owns, but one of their own. I will come back to you. Never can get a full enough DM box though. So if you are interested, do DM us, bringing us round 2. A contributor that deserves an intro, but sadly yet has not got one. But he will be having one in the near future. It's the artist, Curtis Yates. Curtis, look at you in that beautiful top. How are you, my brother?
I'm all right, mate. How's yourself?
Yeah, I'm very well. Talk us through the origins of that shirt, because that is a beauty.
This shirt, believe it or not, when I was living in Manchester, it was very much a case of spur of the moment. I got told by my manager when I was working on the bar that I didn't have to wear a uniform, so I was like, right then. I was like, and this was just before the World Cup, so I was like, right. Well, I was like, if I don't have to wear my uniform, then I'll wear England kit. But I didn't. I'm not really one for national kits. It's not really on my go-to shopping list when it comes to football kits. So then it was pretty much a case of running over to Manchester Arndale Centre and picking up the nicest looking England shirt that I could find, and then feeling a lot more comfortable watching us have a half decent World Cup and enjoying the summer for once, especially probably after the back of what was probably another poor season from a club point of view. But yeah, that's where the fantastic origin of this shirt came from. Nothing really that special behind it, just a spur of the moment, 20 odd quid, and luckily after 2 years it still fits. So it's probably more of a miracle.
It's a pair of 20 quid than I've spent on an England shirt, I can tell you that much. I remember going to an England party for a game. I think it was the USA game. I spent 20 quid. It was a right terrible shirt, one of those cheap ones out of I won't say the store. Stores are available. It wasn't good. Talking of cheap or not cheap, sadly this week Town looked to have lost or missed out on Luton's Sonny Bradley, a deal that was all but confirmed in one of those classical internet ways of writing. Nobody knows anything. I think I read Sonny Bradley will sign for Ipswich unless another team gazumps us or beats us. So basically, he wasn't signing because it wasn't a done deal. Luke, no. Curtis, thoughts on that very quickly? Are you upset, disappointed? Is it what part of the par? What are we saying?
Listen. I'm not upset. I mean, I'm happy. It's the summer. We're gonna have transfer targets, and you know what? We're gonna miss out on a fair few, and we're probably gonna sign a fair few because in terms of registered players that we've got in the squad now, it's just part and parcel of the game. What I would say at the moment is that in the same way that people were saying we had all but signed Sonny Bradley, the same reports have come out saying that he's going to sign a new contract with Luton, but nothing's actually been confirmed whether that's for us or them yet. Nothing's actually come out from either club. So, and I mean, I know from Luke's perspective the other day, in terms of the people who revealed it, Football Insider, they've been a bit like here and there with their reports recently. So it's one of them. You can't trust anything that's been put out, really. I wouldn't say the deal's probably dead in the water because let's face it, if one of their top men, if one of Luton's top men had signed that contract on the day that the report came out, surely you'd want to get the feel good factor amongst the fans straight away, and you'd want to get the fans buzzing about it. And from what I've seen, there's been nothing like that as of yet. But in terms of I'm not disappointed. It's gonna happen. I mean, let's face it. We for the past few years we've had to suffer with subpar players, and even if we don't get Sonny Bradley, we are now aiming at a certain quality of player. Whereas, let's face it, back in the day, we were aiming for 10 grand Peter Malarchik. So we now have a standard that we're setting out when we look at players. So now I wouldn't say this, but if we do miss out on him, we miss out on him. But you know what? We've got a long summer ahead. I think it's going to be a fun summer. I think there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and there might be a few bits of disappointment regarding players that we sign in terms of missing out on them. That is, but I wouldn't say disappointed. Just wait and see. That's all I'd say.
Well, we like to be realistic here on Talking Town, so I've asked Luke to give us 3 players that could pick Town fans up off the floor that maybe are disappointed we're not getting Sonny Bradley or look to be getting Sonny Bradley. So, Luke, 3 players that realistically Town fans watching, listening, can keep an eye on this summer and maybe be excited about.
Okay, yeah. So, like, one of the things I like to do, well, in general, is my position, I like to figure targets that people wouldn't have thought of. Like, there's so many names out there. There's so many Championship names and League One and League Two names that people, would roll off the tongue almost immediately, and there's something that you think of. So the names that I think of, well, you might know a couple, but they're all written down for specific reasons. So I'll start on the first one, which I was kind of talking to you a little bit about earlier. And that is Ewan Murray of Dunfermline. So he plays in the Scottish Championship, which is the league below the Scottish Premiership. But he has had a lot of interest from Scottish Premiership clubs. This season, he's played 30 appearances in all competitions. And as a centre-half, he scored 7 goals and had 2 assists. So I think it's very important as a fan of Ipswich Town. We grew up, well, I've grown up really with seeing defenders like Smith, Chambers, Berra, and I remember the season, especially I think it was our playoff season, where Smith and Berra were almost scoring centre-half headers every other week. And I think that's something that we've missed a lot in recent years, was being able to score goals from centre-half, especially from corners and that kind of thing. So, yeah, so he... I kind of said, I've written a bit about, like I did with Mendes Gomez on here a couple of weeks ago. I said he's known for being quite imperious when it comes to winning aerial duels, whether that be defensively or tackling corners and free kicks. A large majority of his goals come from those kind of situations. He's also confident with driving the ball from defence, so he's relatively capable as a left-sided defender. He's also captain as well. He's
Leader,
he's out of contract this summer as well, and at the age of 27 is 3 years younger than Sonny Bradley. And I just think, it comes as a club where I've seen, like, as I said before, I've probably watched about 10, 15 games of this guy over the last couple of months. And every time I've seen him, he's been that authoritative leader at the back. He's been comfortable in the ball. And every time I watch it, the commentators on there and articles that I've read are clearly linking him with higher up clubs. The clubs that are at the top 4 in the Scottish Premiership battle out with Celtic and Rangers. So that's a player that I've spent a lot of time on and have been keeping a close eye on. I think his actual contract talks with his club have actually broken down. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, whether it be Ipswich or other League One or either a League Two club going for him. Another one that I've written down is in the strike department. With the recent acquisition of Francis Jeffers, I've written down, I'm going to speak about Ellis Sims of Blackpool. He's on loan this season from Everton. And I really like what I see of him. As a 6-foot striker, he scored 8 goals and 2 assists in 21 appearances this season for Blackpool, and actually two goals in the playoffs. So he scored the first 2 goals in the first leg against Oxford earlier last week. Only 20. Only 20. And the same season was Everton. He'd scored 8 goals in 12 Premier League 2 appearances, kind of like the under-23s league. He has actually been a pretty consistent and prolific goal scorer at youth level. So back in the under-18s, about 2 years ago, he'd scored 32 in 21 games. And overall, he's a physical presence at 6 foot. So he's not relatively tall, but he's taller than most and has a great deal of strength and direct running and a clinical edge in front of goal. For me, looking at it from the outsider, it was his first kind of senior loan in football, and it's been really good to see how, you generally get quite a lot of players hyped up at a young age. Take Troy Parrott, for example. These players are performing well throughout their clubs, and there's always that from the inside of the club, looking in, you see, this kind of players coming through that we expect to do well. So I think being able to watch Sims play about 10 games this season as well has really impressed me. He played in a front 2 with Jerry Yates, but I've seen a lot about him in terms of his physicality, how he runs with the ball, the way he holds it up. There's a lot of things there, and even if he doesn't.
So the chat is sort of saying that that's an unrealistic target. That he's going to be going to the Championship. Do you think he's ready for that? Do you think Everton will want to? Is it David Unsworth still Everton's loan manager? Will he want him to be going down to the Championship? Well, obviously he will be, but will he be viewing that as a realistic? Because obviously at this point, surely it's about playing games still, isn't it, for him?
Yeah, I still think at that stage, as I'm saying, first ever senior loan, and he's playing for Blackpool, a team that at the beginning of the season weren't even in the promotion places. They were near the bottom of the league. And I think for a player that age, 20, their first ever loan, I think it would be detrimental to see someone like Sims then go into the Championship, maybe have a bad season, don't do as well, don't kick on, and then maybe some people will call him a one-season wonder or a flop, for example. I think it'd be more important and more helpful. You take a look at people like Morgan Rogers. Their first season, they went to League One, and anomaly for some, when they're younger, some just hit the ground running. But I think it'd be, for me as an outsider looking in, I think it would make more sense for someone like Sims to get another season in League One, whether that be just 6 months up until January, then go somewhere in the Championship, or really do. He's out of contract in the summer as well. So it's going to be very unlikely to see a club in the Championship, well, especially higher up anyway, take that kind of risk on him. But looking at the links that we've got with people like Freddie Jeffers in the club who were responsible at Everton, younger groups, Everton, I think, out of those that are available, he'd be one. And my final target, this is kind of a strange one out there, more of a gamble, more of a might happen, might not one. But I'm talk about Leighton Clarkson. He's a 19-year-old at Liverpool. He hasn't had any loans yet. He's been a player that I've watched a lot through their younger age groups, at both under 18s and under 23. His consistent performances as a defensive midfielder has led to his inclusion in the Champions League this season. Obviously, Liverpool themselves have been suffering with a bunch of injuries, with Jordan Henderson not really being available for much of the season. So they really needed their kind of younger players to give them the chance of people like Nathaniel Phillips and Reece Williams chances to play this season. So watching from the outside looking in, it was good to see Clarkson involved. And in this season, he'd had 15 assists and 8 goals in 61 appearances throughout his time at the youth academy. And I've read a bit about him here. Whilst being known primarily for the defensive side of his game, he shows good movement and likes to progress the ball up the pitch using a superb passing range, whether that be longer passes or quick movements and multiple short passes. And I kind of go on to say that it's more of a left field option, but with obvious links to Liverpool and, Cook liking a lot of Liverpool-based scouting staff and players. I've seen links online linking us to Reece Williams, which I don't really see much into at the moment. But I think it's more of a chance to look at something different. Obviously, as I've said with a number of people on Twitter, I kind of expect Cook to bring a nucleus of players that he'd worked with before, people like Lee Evans, Che Dunkley, rumoured to be linked to come here, and then bring on, you have a nucleus of players that can play in this league, but also the league above. And I think that's the way we have to go this season. We need to recruit people. Sonny Bradley didn't come here, but that standard of top half, higher mid-table championship players are the players that we should be going after primarily anyway, and then sprinkling these kind of players and the kind of more younger gems and our own academy into that as well.
Absolutely. Curtis, you've heard 3 names there. What are your thoughts? Who jumps out? And what are you thinking in there in terms of what Luke's has been talking about?
I think Luke is right. I think with Ellis Sims, I think he himself, he would be taking a bit of a gamble in taking the step up to the Championship straight away. I mean, in my opinion, two seasons having consistent football and a possible consistent goal scoring run is going to do you a lot better than if you take the opportunity to jump at the Championship at the first hurdle and then possibly fall flat on your face. I think Ellis Sims would be a very good acquisition if he, as he says, he's out of contract. He can clearly do a job, but then again, we are going to be playing with one up front, so I wouldn't then want to. I wouldn't want to sign a player, and then, especially at his age, I wouldn't then want to be detrimental to his progression, and then he's done such a good job for Blackpool, and then shove him on a bench, because I don't think that'll help him, nor would it help the club. But if we're going to sign anyone out of those 3, I would absolutely. Ellis Sims will be an absolutely fantastic acquisition. Ewan Murray, I think from what Luke said there, it's been a long time. It's been a long time, especially for me. I mean, we've not had small defenders, but even going to Ipswich games, you always have to kind of watch a set piece through your hands, really, because we're not solid enough in terms of set piece. I mean, let's face it, we all pap ourselves when a ball gets flung into the box, and I think to myself, it's been a very long time since we've had someone who is a towering defender who can get up amongst the rest, who can be a danger when it comes to launching a ball into the box. I've seen a few comments there saying how we need to get proven players and we can't be getting younger players. But people need to realise that a team needs a mix, because let's face it, we've tried to do the whole proven player thing in the past. I mean, does everyone forget we did once have Gad's Army in terms of Paul Jewell? I mean, you can't. Let's face it though. I mean, we joke, but you couldn't really argue back then. The players that you were getting in, let's say you could say they were proven. They had experience under the belt. They had games. They might have been aging, but they would certainly be classed as proven players. But we need younger players. We need players with that hunger in the heart.
We need pace.
Yeah, exactly.
We're so slow, aren't we? We're so slow.
You can scatter a few proven players in and amongst it, but there's nothing wrong with having younger players. And by younger players, I don't mean Andre Dizelle, and I don't mean 36-year-old Teddy Bishop. I don't mean Teddy Bishop, who's still living on his Bournemouth goal. Maybe it means that we have to get some younger players from higher up clubs who are going to come in and help us out. it's you can scatter younger players in and amongst a few proven signings. Like Luke said there, Lee Evans would be an absolutely fantastic general in midfield there. We have lacked someone in midfield who will take the game by the scruff of the neck. I mean, I saw a comment today from Teddy Bishop's fantastic highlight reel of this season, and someone commented saying how the best midfielder at the club, and I said on Twitter, I said, geez, if he's the best midfielder at our club, like how low is our standard? Like how low can our bar be? But we can't be saying that we need a bunch of proven players, because if you want to take the word proven, what age do you then class a player as proven?
Stephen Ward is proven.
And this is what I mean. Like, let's face it, the people in our squad, Alan Judge is proven. Like we're Toto Nsiala at certainly at League One level is proven. Like we've got players who are clearly proven at this level and possibly above, but they're not. But just because you're proven and you've had a few games in the league, don't mean you're any good, as proven by the last 2 seasons of absolute failure. We need players that are going to come in, have the fire and desire in the heart to actually do something with this club. And it's like we spoke about it, Sonny Bradley there. It's about it, in my opinion, as a player, it's about selling the vision of a club to someone. If we have owners now, and we have a CEO coming in who can tell these players, listen, this club has been sat back on its arse doing absolutely nothing for the last 10 years. There's never really been any pressure, as past players have said in the past. Adam Webster's said it in the past. McGoldrick said it in the past. There's been never any pressure under the last ownership and under the previous regime. Whereas if you've got owners now and you've got a CEO who's going to sell the vision to these players, whether they come from the Championship or whether it's, I mean, a big one like your Reece Williams from Liverpool, again, you can't read too much into it. But if these are the types of players you're aiming at, these are players that are coming with pedigree. They are coming with a certain level of expectation. And that's not from us. That's from themselves because of the career that they are carving out. I mean, I know Liverpool themselves had injury problems this season, and that's the only reason why Reece Williams got himself into the team. But you still have to have a quality there to even be chosen by the manager. Otherwise, as a manager, certainly at the top level, you would continue to just try and play your midfielders in centre back, just like the way they did with Henderson. They tried to bring him back into the back line. But you have these players like your Nat Phillips, who, I mean, I saw he was supposed to be going somewhere else, and your Reece Williams. But these players have a certain level of quality. Unfortunately, they might become a Ainsley Maitland-Niles where they don't really shine that well, like when they come on loan. I quite liked Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I thought he did all right for what was his first professional loan. But you can't just go for experienced heads, because let's face it, I know a lot of people love Chambo, but he was experienced and he was dwindling in quality. We currently have a very average League One side, and everyone always said throughout the season that on paper this should be a team that's up there. There's nothing on that team that told me that we should have been up there. There's nothing on that team that told that, even on paper, there was nothing about that team that told me that we should have been up there, because the season prior to that, they told me why they aren't going to be up there. So I wasn't really expecting anything last season. If we can scatter some young players in and amongst a few proven heads like your Lee Evans and like is it Sam Morsley?
Sam Morsey, Che Dunkley as well, another one linked recently.
Well, hang on then, Kurt. Hang on, because I've got somebody coming in. The Fisherman. He's jumped in. He's asked for the link. Go on, Fisherman. Let him have it, son. Oh, can you hear him? I can't hear him. Can you hear him?
Not a chance.
Mike, we can't hear you, mate. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. So I'll bring you back in just a second. You try and fix that up. He was getting active in the chat. I'll get a few comments before we try and bring him back in. We've got Mike D with our recruitment team and management team. We're not fit for purpose, Yates. It's all about pressure to succeed. Talking of which, before I bring Mike back in, Luke, Dave Bowman's gone. The man, the myth, the legend.
The anomaly.
They found him. They found his broom cupboard. They let him out. talk us through that one, Luke. I mean, he joins the list of Emmy Hughes and Luke Matheson that nobody wanted to report on, ask a question on, or anything. What happened there?
It's a strange story with him. You know, comes in as the director of football under, was it Ian Evans when McCarthy comes in?
Yes.
Then
Good knowledge.
Mick leaves, and we have multitude of managers from there, and we never hear about him. We always go on Ipswich Town's website. It says director of football, Dave Bowman, and you never hear about him. You never see any media talk about him, and you're like, we're talking about recruitment, we're talking about transfers, we're talking about how bad our recruitment's been, and we never hear anything. We never, even see him mentioned in an interview. I did read a couple of weeks ago that there was speculation that he was going to join Mick McCarthy at Cardiff this summer. And obviously, as I think since Lambert came in, he'd been placed on gardening leave from what I'd read and been told. So strange situation. But I think it's at that point now, as we've been seeing recently with, I can't remember the guy's first name, but there was the Ashton today, who was the fitness coach, and Andy Costin, who's coming as the head of sports science. So we're getting a lot of backroom staff coming in, and hopefully that, those coming in are going to do the jobs going forward for us, because we really do need an improvement in that area. And I've seen a lot of people also in the chat talking about potentially signing players from abroad and Galatasaray. From what I recall, from what I remember, clubs are becoming, especially within our leagues, are becoming a lot more unlikely to do business abroad. But due to Brexit, there's a lot more rules and regulations you have to go through, which is why a lot of clubs are taking more pride recently in signing more players from, Ireland and Scotland and those leagues rather than abroad, because I think from memory, I've got to do some reading into it, but that with Brexit, there's certain rules in relation to European players, so in relation to trying to get in players from Galatasaray. But I think in terms of if you wanted to, it's a club where you wanted to do like a feeder club with teams like Phoenix Rising, for example, then I think that would cancel against that. I just obviously have to do visa and that kind of thing.
Before I bring Mike back in, let's quickly touch on that. Kurt, we've got Andy Costin coming in as head of sports science, while former Leicester City and Stevenage defender John Ashton has joined the club as first team fitness coach. More backroom signings, as Victoria says here. We've got more backroom staff than we have players. What are your thoughts on the two arrivals? Two more great signings for Cookie. Another progress in the right. Where are you on that?
I mean, listen, it's like there's nothing wrong with having a large backroom staff. What that does mean is that there's going to be more areas for specialisation. So if that means we've got certain coaches for certain things, I'm all for it. If it means less workload on a small coaching team, I'm all for it. If this is a route that we have to go down in order to get success, give it to me all day long. It's one of them. I mean, I've seen a few bits and bobs around the head of sports and science, and I've heard a few things about how he wasn't well liked at his last club. But you know what? At certain points in certain people's careers, things don't just gel. They just don't gel. And I'm certain that whoever's been our head of sports science, if we've even had one,
Jim Henry.
Yeah, I'm certain they would come out and say, "Listen, the injuries at Ipswich aren't my fault." I'm sure they would say the same thing, and I'm sure they'd say that it's down to the players' fitness and blah 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 blah, which it probably is. But it's always going to be someone else's fault. You're never going to take the blame on that, especially in a role such as that. It's one of, in my opinion, a larger backroom staff means more specialisation. It can only be a good thing. And at the moment, I know it seems as though we're signing more backroom staff than players, but we need to remember, we've also got rid of a few backroom staff. So we're not adding to the current load. I mean, Gerard Nash left the other week. Gill left. I know Dyer's dropped back down to the under-23s. Is it now again? So it's one of them. We're not. And then what was it? The goalkeeper, Jimmy Walker left. So he's also off. So we're not really gathering a larger backroom department. We're just possibly people in the right positions.
Just the assistant and goalkeeper coach now, isn't it, Luke? That's all it's left on my pad.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Dave Bowman leaving director of football, if you're going to go in that route, I think
there'll be a head of recruitment.
I think in terms of the staff that have come in, I think the only one that we've added maybe more in is I think Andy Rolls came in as head of performance, which wasn't a role that we'd had before. Other than that, it's more or less been those that have left have been replaced. So it's not like we're adding more staff. But yeah, I think with what you've said, assistant coach, goalkeeping coach, and head of recruitment are probably the only three on top of what we don't have currently that I would add in.
Slowly building, but just to fill in some blanks there. Yeah, so our previous, technically his official job title was head of athletic performance / sports science. That was Jim Henry. Obviously, you will remember who famously left to do it all via Zoom. How you do that via Zoom, I don't know, but there we go. Right, Mike, are you working?
Yeah, I've had to use me. My laptop's not working. What's that all about? I've got screen video.
This is
it's not working. I don't know what I've done to it.
Before you tell us what you were thinking, I want to tell you what Jordan said. He says, day by day, Town fans amaze me how they wouldn't take a certain player. After the shit show we've watched the last 3 years, incredible. I see you getting active in that chat, Mike. What are your thoughts hearing Curtis, hearing Luke speak there about transfer recruitment targets?
The thing that still keeps ticking around in my head is I don't know, there's still a certain amount of fans that seem to be still stuck in the Evans mindset. We're not like that anymore. That's gone. And I do think,
praise the Lord.
Lee Anderson, Ando said earlier, just a minute ago, these backroom staff that are coming in are part of a jigsaw puzzle. We've had a shit shower of a system under Evans. It hasn't worked, and we haven't last season. Like Curtis said, we all predicted another. I mean, look, I couldn't see us doing any better this year. I really couldn't after last year. So the players last year. My only concern is it's not a case of like we need to bring in all proven players. What I mean by that comment was that we need players that have had at least a year or two experience in what I call adult football. Do you understand what I mean? Playing in the under-18s is a massive jump from that to playing adult football. It's a huge jump. And a lot of kids struggle by becoming into the adult football. So we have to look. You always get exceptions to the rules. With some of that young lads at Liverpool, obviously United in the '92, whatever. And then you've got like you say, you've got one or two players coming through. Rooney and that. They've come through young and stuff. But the reality is League One is a really tough league. You need grit, determination, you need power, you need pace, you need effort, and you need that little bit of arrogance to say, do you know what? You come to our ground, you ain't beating us. We come to your ground, we're beating you. Yeah? Because what we haven't had is any of that. We haven't had that for a long time. I don't remember it's a long time. I mean, I guess the playoff season we lost to the fucking Northern scum. We've not had that real grit about us as a team, and that stems from the very top. And like many fans last season, this season in particular, have said, we are rotten to the core. Right now, our core is being ripped out. It's being replaced with some really, hopefully, what should be good, proven staff. Ones that have sort of look, Ashton. Bristol City fans, but he's done wonders up there. I don't know what they were moaning about. A small little club like Bristol City. Do you know what I mean? And I think, like you say, I love the idea of that defender coming. If we could, I'd love a defender around about 26, 27, because that gives us at least 6 years of that player.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And them stats alone says to me that he's got something about him.
But what about the striker that Luke mentioned? What about the striker that Luke mentioned? Because he's only had half a season at Blackpool. Yeah. He isn't going to be coming in with seasons of records, and it's going to be he might come
third,
and
fourth
flourish.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah, but he might come and not flourish. Where would you be on that then?
I just can't see him. Look, if Blackpool get promoted, I think.
Yeah, he'll go
there's
there.
a chance they'll get him back on loan. I think if they don't get promoted, I think a championship side will come in for him. I just can't see him. I think he's better than League One, but there's no reason why we can't go for a player like that. What I'm saying is, I just can't see it happening because of how the Championship now commands such a. It's a bit like the Premier League. Premier League cherry picks from the Championship. The Championship cherry picks from League One. I don't see why we can't cherry pick from some of the top players from League Two. People said, "Oh, we did that under Hurst." No, we didn't. We didn't pick the top players under Hurst. We picked a few average players, I would say, from League One to play in the Championship. Why can't we go into League Two and cherry pick the best players out of League Two? Why can't we cherry pick some of the best players in League One from the teams that have maybe come up or sort of finished around us?
Because you're not the only team, though, Mike.
Are you?
You've got Sunderland who have got some money. You've got the teams coming down. You've got Charlton still here. Portsmouth, cherry picking the players is great, but as Sonny Bradley just proved, even Luton are a better attractive. Well, of course, they're in the Championship.
They're a Championship. That's the difference.
This is why I've been so excitable.
If we were in the Championship with Luton, I can guarantee you now, he would be with us because we are a better proposition than Luton in the Championship.
I'm not disagreeing.
We are. Sorry.
I'm not disagreeing with that. This is why I was so excitable towards the end of the season when I was desperate for us to mount some type of challenge, because I could see the summer coming, and I could see that actually if we managed to get something together, and there will be conversations ringing till the end of time whether or not a manager could have got something out of this squad. By the way, a large part is still here and is scheduled to be here come September the 1st, because I don't see many people queuing up the door as I predicted for our players.
But Mike Ashton hasn't even started yet, has he?
I've heard that he's been working behind the scenes on stuff already. He just hasn't been publicly talked about.
The phone's still on.
You know what I mean? You've got to get. I think.
I would say Huddersfield signing Rhodes rules out Jackson. That's me. That's what I would say. I would say Huddersfield.
Rhodes was never going to drop to the drop.
Not Rhodes. I'm talking about players leaving the club, because at the moment, Mike, you've got 4 strikers there: James Nord, Caden Jackson, Ollie Hawkins, Aaron Drinham. You don't need another striker. We do need another striker.
We desperately need at least 2. Really. I mean, no disrespect, but
you need 2.
Norwood is probably the only one that could probably score 15 plus goals this season. Jackson, as much as he's got pace, he's not going to score more than 5 to 10 at most. Hawkins is Hawkins to me is just a poor Daryl Murphy. And Drilling, I don't know what Drilling offers. I really don't, other than running around like a chicken.
Victoria Henderson just said, "I'll bear my ass on this podcast if Drilling gets double-figure goals next season."
Oh, Vic, you ledge! I'm on that show. I'm telling you.
Fucking. Put your eyes and your tongue away there, Mike.
I am. Right, back to normality.
Right, moving it on. Very quickly, before I let you go, Mike, Fan Zone next year will have a mural dedicated to the season ticket holders of this year, all 9,000 of them. Lovely touch by the football club, isn't it?
Some decent refunds would have been better.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Just saying, as it is. No, I mean, I'm just listen. Look, it's nice. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's nice, but there's still a lot of fans out there that have, that haven't been able to go, and some of them, there's just a lot of fans that would rather have had a full refund. Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying it. I am on the fence. I like the idea, but again, there's a lot of fans that that wanted refunds, and I can kind of understand it. Sorry,
I'm happy with my refund. I thought it was great. I thought they listened to us and they improved it, and they came back with a better offer. I think
it's good as well, because on top of that, they've done the whole iFollow thing as well, where you get all your money back within like 3 years. So on top of the
he just likes moaning.
No, I don't. I don't like moaning. Look, I think we need to just we're all excited. I just think we need to just keep our feet on the ground and just see where the club is. If we're having the same conversation in 3 weeks' time, I'd be worried. But right now, I'm not worried. I just think the club are getting in there. These owners ain't stupid. We've spoke to them. We all love what they've got to say. We all love what they've done with Phoenix Rising. We all like what they've got to offer. They're getting the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle in, and who's to say they're not looking at players right now? Who's to say they're not talking to players? I think we just need to be. I think we just need to keep foot on the ground and not get too stressed about it, because I think it will all happen, and when it does, we'll hopefully be buzzing off our tits.
Okay,
or move,
absolutely.
In my case.
Mike, love you lots. Look after yourself. Thanks
and
ever
you
so
guys
much.
take care. Yeah, see you soon.
Talking about feet on the ground, the Euros are around the corner, and of course, England will be winning the European Championships this summer. And to do so, they will need a squad. One person who won't be there is Sergio Ramos, who has been left out of the Spanish squad. Before I come to our England squad and who should or shouldn't be in it, because I think it's being released, is it tomorrow? Yeah, Tuesday it's being announced, 26-man squad. Ashley Bell, everyone was lauding other clubs for giving away a third shirt at their season tickets. Ipswich have basically given away a free shirt for the next 3 years. If that's what people choose to spend it on, yeah, spot on. I'm really happy with the new refund. I can't say that more glowingly. That's nice to have a club that listens. Backroom staff in place, fitness people in place, sports science people that actually know how to use the equipment properly in place or whatever. Just, get rid of that Banter FC gimmick. Do you know what I mean? Michael Finch.
Hopefully now with the fitness coaches coming in, they can actually buy the equipment.
Well, yeah, this is it. Michael Finch. They're getting the corners and dying in place. The players will be the ones to complete the jigsaw. Very quickly, Colin, I can see you waiting there. Bring you in. What's your thoughts on this this Monday evening? As I say, cold, but it's not really, is it?
What's my thoughts?
On anything. Anything you want. It's your show, Colin. You're the goat of Talking Town. You tell me what's on your mind, and we will discuss it.
Well, I was thinking about what Mike was saying earlier on about about the changes and all that. I personally think that I think that it's going along the right line tonight. Like I said in the chat, I think we've just got to be patient. I've said that before. I think we've got to be patient, and the pieces in the jigsaw will start coming together. Which we have literally got to be patient and wait for Ashton to come in, because I'm sure he knows what he's doing. And I personally think come the start of the season, I think we'll all be okay, and I think we'll be happy with what's gone on. I think certain people are starting to get a little bit edgy, and really, you mustn't get edgy in situations like this. That's where you need a cool head, and I think Ashton will probably do a good job. I think, as long as he, people give him time, and I'm sure he knows what he's doing. So.
Yeah, and he starts on the 1st of June, so not too long to go now. We are going to come to our England stuff, but very quickly, I'm going to kick off a little mini Ipswich Town kit World Cup, if you like. And Colin, as you're here, you can help us. I've got 2 kits to look at this evening, 2 Ipswich Town kits. I'll bring the first one to the screen. It is the 1989-90-91 Umbro. It's off an eBay ad, so you have to excuse me while I zoom it in on it. Oh, wait, there it is. There it is. Is that it? Yes. Can we see that on the screen? No, we can't. Let me get the right screen for you. Best laid plans and all that. There it is. That one there is our first one. Colin, do you remember that shirt at all?
I certainly do. That's Romeo Zondervan, I would say, shirt. Yep.
Romeo Zondervan shirt. Go on.
like I say, I remember the shirt. I'd say that was probably in the Zondervan era. I would hazard a guess at.
I've got Mike D says, "What a beauty, love that shirt." I've got 1987 on my chart here. I don't know how accurate that is, but we'll roll with that for the time being until proved otherwise. Luke, have you seen that shirt before?
I actually haven't, but no, I really like the look of it. Obviously, for me, that's way before I was born. But I think looking at it now, I've said to a couple of people on Twitter, whenever you look at the Adidas templates nowadays, it's so bland. You know, you look at that shirt, there's so much going on. The patterns in the background, the retro Adidas logo, and hope that somehow. We can somehow get back to that kind of kit. You know, it's good this year, as we've obviously seen that Ed Sheeran, you know, local musician, is getting behind the club to sponsor the shirt, so we don't have to have a gambling company on the front. But hopefully going forward in the next couple of weeks, I think that should come out near the end of May as well, the new shirts for this season. And hopefully that's something to look forward to as well.
We are, of course, giving away 2 shirts on this channel. Well, we will be if we can hit 2,500 subscribers. We are 85 away. So that is not many at all. So if you've not yet subscribed, hit subscribe. Kurt, before we bring on his competitor, what do you think of this shirt here?
I luckily have that shirt. It was.
Do you really?
Well, it was my dad's, and my dad got it signed by the squad at the time.
Oh, wow.
So that was passed down to me, unfortunately, when he passed away. So that is currently in a box, nice and still pristine. Probably absolutely stinks of must, because obviously it's never been washed. I am going to get it framed at some point. I wouldn't even be able to tell you the players on it, but that shirt does hold a nice little special place, especially with myself. I would personally love for a shirt to look as good as that these days. I think with some of the diabolical things that Adidas have given us recently. I mean, I said on Twitter recently, I'm still scarred from that relegation season to like home shirt. I got it, but I got it last season when they were giving them away for I think £5. So I was like, I may as well get it. But it's honestly Adidas in terms of their quality in shirts that they've made. Oh, it's got worse and worse throughout the years. I mean. Last season's was all right, but let's face it, it's just a basic blue and white shirt. You can't really go wrong with it. But I would love for a football kit to actually have some character about it, like that does. I would love to go back to those days. But I think as long as we have Adidas, which I think is only one more year, I think I don't think we'll be seeing that certainly for the next year. But who knows? Whoever comes in next might start to give us what we want, and we might have a kit that we can actually all be proud of to look at once again.
Get us Hummel. I want Hummel.
Yeah, well, this is it. And Hummel's one we've called on for the podcast since last June, and yeah, big time. Colin, a few players being mentioned. We've got Dalian Atkinson, obviously a great player. He was dearly missed. We've got Gavin Johnson. Thoughts on Gavin Johnson?
Oh, great! A good old Suffolk lad, as they say, and great stalwart, great ambassador for the club, and played on until a ripe old age. Played down the road, played for Bury Town, and played for Walsh, and God knows who he didn't play for in the end. But no, good player. And scored our first ever goal in the Premier League. Gavin Johnson against Aston Villa.
And the competitor for the shirt is this thing here. Rinker is back. This is, according to my chart, the 92 to 94 Ipswich kit. Obviously, one of the famous ones. I've got this signed by Ian Marshall. That's the first player that comes to mind. Colin, first player that comes to mind when you see that shirt, please.
Mickey Stockwell.
Oh, what a player. Left back, right back, midfield, up front, in goal. Tea-lady, ball boy. He could do it all, could Mickey. Could do it all. Luke, have you seen that? Obviously, you've seen that one before.
Yeah. I think I remember, was it Chris Kawamia wearing that one?
Yeah, great player.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was growing up and getting into the club. Family had a lot of old VCR tapes, and I remember that season when I was very, very young, watching that and seeing that shirt. Really, growing up and seeing a load of like old shirts when I was younger. That was the one that probably I remember the most, along with when I was growing up. Really, that one and the 2000 playoff final. I think that one stands out to me really good. Yeah, a similar kind of design to the other one with the kind of white sleeves and the blue, kind of the main blue design, but also with like kind of like a zigzagged pattern in the background with obviously Umbro and kind of redness around the retro badge that we've been spanning last years, and obviously the old like pinstripe collar as well, which a lot of fans were calling for that kind of design last season. So yeah, I think that's the thing as a club really. When you look back at the old and well for me like the past and seeing all these good shirts and the teams that they resemble. Unfortunately now the majority of the shirts that I've bought recently resemble that of underperforming side. So hopefully next season coming, the next shirt that comes out gives us some good memories.
Yeah, but as Kurt was saying, character. This shirt, Curtis, the laces. You don't get laces on shirts anymore. This has got character. This shirt.
I love a good collar on a shirt. I did like the Adidas shirt that we had that like a few years ago with a good collar on. I know some people don't like the laces. It's one of them. They can be a bit of a pain in the arse, especially when you're on a run. They can be a bit of a pain in the arse when you're on a run and they keep whacking you in the face. But I tell you what, tie them up. I like you say, it's character. I like a big collar. I like the fact that it's got that little added touch of the laces. This is clearly back in an age where people could be a bit more free with the kit designs, whereas now in the modern world, you've got that many kit designs out there that unfortunately they just have to be templated for as many clubs as possible. But I love looking at some old kits and some absolutely horrendous kits, because I mean you look back in the day and some of the goalkeeper kits like 20 years ago, 30 years ago were absolutely horrendous. I love looking at some of these old kits, but as I say, in terms of, I'd love for us to bring back a collar. I think it very much gives an authentic and a throwback to the glory days, and hopefully we can actually emulate that in the seasons to come. But no, I mean, I only recognise this shirt a bit like Luke, to be honest. From obviously me, I mean, I had a few talks with Simon Milton a few months ago. And I spoke with him about his playing days when he wanted to get a couple of prints from himself, and he was telling me he told me all about how when he was playing in this shirt with the team that he played with, and obviously, unfortunately, it was before my time. But I think hearing stories about the players that have played in these shirts, especially for me, it makes me love my club even more. It's just a shame that when we're at such a high, back then we were at such a high standard, and then you get unfortunately you get dragged back down to reality when you look at the league, when you look at the current League One table, and we finished in what, 9th, was it? Whatever it was. But I mean, hey, that's I suppose 9th is progression on 11th place from last season. So it's you got to take your bonuses wherever you can find them. So, well, yeah, no, I think out of those two kits, the first one was my favourite. I think the first one, hands down, for me is one of my favourites, both purely for sentimental and just for the way it looks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you're going to go for the first one, Luke. Which was your favourite?
I'll go for the first one as well. I really like the design of it, and that, yeah.
2-0. Will Colin make it 2-1 and give me the cider, or will he go for the same one as the lads? Colin, which one for you, my friend?
I think, to be honest with you, totally honest, I'd go for the first one.
Yeah, I think I agree. Good shirt, that.
Yeah.
Really good shirt. Top shirt, top team.
I believe Ian Marshall wore the second one, one with the lasers. I believe Ian Marshall.
He did. I've got it
wore that
signed.
shirt
Yeah,
as
I've
well.
got Marshall 10 signed. What I've sort of found interesting starting this is that, shirts for 2 years. I mean, how nice is that? That, your 45 quid or whatever it wasn't on a one season, and not just one season, but one season where the last game of the season, they don't even bloody wear it anyway. So it's not even a full season shirt anymore, is it?
Can I just say, Martin, to Yates, because I love Yates, as he knows, that shirt, when I first saw that tonight, I could see Bobby Moore, and I can remember the 66 World Cup. I was 9 years old, watching it on the sofa with my brother and my dad, and a black and white TV. And do you know what? I can see Bobby Moore coming out of the tunnel end with the old orange ball underneath his arm. I could see that when I saw that shirt. I see Bobby Moore coming out of the tunnel. But you remind me of George Cohen, He played fullback for England in that World Cup. But you remind me of George Cohen wearing that shirt. You do, honestly. Yeah, very much, yeah. So, yeah. When
repertoire doesn't match that.
Sorry?
My football repertoire does not match that, unfortunately.
Doesn't match George Cohen. Well, I'll tell you, he was a very, very good player. Played for Fulham. Very, very good player, George Cohen. But yeah, it was a great strip. And I'll tell you another thing I always remember about that strip. I remember when we played Mexico in the group game, and Bobby Charlton got a couple in that game, and you must have seen that goal. He whipped one in from about 30 yards, top corner. And they were wearing white that night, and that strip. And Bobby Charlton, what a legend he was. Oh,
great player.
Unbelievable.
As legendary as your shed, Colin. So you get us a date to come round. The milk tray man in the chat has just said he'll come round. We've got Kurt, we've got Luke, myself, all the lads, all the girls coming round. Victoria Henderson bearing her ass in your shed, probably. Thanks to Aaron Drinnan.
I don't know. I don't know if Anisha would like that a lot.
Well, I'll leave you to sort that one out, Colin. I love you. Look after yourself. You go sort that problem out, and we'll speak soon. God, what a legend is old Colin. England squads, right? What is our 3 goalkeepers we are taking to the European Championships, my friends? Luke, 3 goalies very quickly. Don't tell us why yet. Just 3 goalkeepers, and we'll see if Kurt's got the match in 3. It's like the lottery numbers.
Okay, so my 3, as it stands, and obviously I'll explain the reasons why afterwards.
Well, it's being announced tomorrow, so unless some major catastrophe happens,
Yeah. Jordan Pickford, Dean Henderson, Sam Johnston.
Okay. Kurt, do you have the same 3, or do you have a different one in there?
I would have. That is my 3 now. But I think Sam Johnston would have been replaced with Nick Pope had Pope not got cropped.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sam Johnston is the viable 3rd option in that now.
Okay. And who's your number 1?
Dean Henderson. I think all round ability as a goalkeeper, I think Dean Henderson has it. I think Jordan Pickford is a shot stopper. I know. I just for me, I think Henderson edges it. I think Pickford's all right, but I just think as an all-round goalkeeper, I think Henderson edges it for me to that starting spot.
Luke, do you agree with Henderson's number 1, or have you got somebody else?
Yeah, I agree with Curtis. Really, I'd go for Henderson. I think that Southgate will go for Pickford because obviously he's the only goalkeeper that he's using in tournaments. Obviously, as much as Pickford's form has been erratic this season, for Pickford, we go back to the penalty, the whole game against Colombia, really, in the World Cup. The last minute save before extra time, where he's absolute pinger of a ball in, saves it, and then obviously the penalty shootout that comes from that as well. I would go for Henderson. I think over the last couple of seasons at Sheffield United, he's proven himself to be a really good goalkeeper at Premier League level. And obviously with De Gea's questionable performances at Manchester United, he's got a look in there and performed very well for them. So for me, I would go for Henderson, but I can see why majority of those potentially would go for Pickford.
Okay, moving on to defenders. If we go to left backs first of all, who are your left backs in the squad, Kurt?
See, I don't know. I know Mings is a centre back now, but he's so lanky, and the man has such power to turn down that left hand side. I really would play him there, but I think for me, your starting left back would have to be Chilwell, and I think you'd have to bring Shaw as his backup. In my opinion, I think Chilwell just has the legs on Shaw. In my opinion, but in my heart, I wish Mings would get played there. But I think he's going to be starting in centre back, unfortunately.
Okay, Luke, Shaw and Chilwell, agree with that?
Yeah, I think for me, I've utilised the whole 26, so I've gone for Shaw and Chilwell, but I've also gone for Bukayo Saka, because you look at it in a way where you're taking a squad of 26 players. Obviously, with COVID and that, they've increased it from 23 to 26, so it gives an option to include players that maybe won't play all the time. And I think having someone like Shaw and Chilwell, who obviously I would put Chilwell as a starter as well and have Shaw as a bench, but having someone like Bukayo Saka, who's so versatile, can fill in at left back and at left midfield. And for an Arsenal team that has been so bad this season, to have their younger players step up and be so good, for someone like Bukayo Saka, I think having him as a player, much like some of the others that I'll probably get onto here in a moment, that won't necessarily play all the games, but it's having that experience of a tournament alongside those. I think that's important and integral for the next couple of years going forward after the Euros as well.
And there's always that one wild card. Theo Walcott 1 year. There's always that one wild card where nobody ever goes, oh wow, where did that come from? Like that could be the one. Good shout there, Luke. One could watch out on. Right backs. I'll put a name in first. Kieran Trippier. Hell of a season in Spain. Deserves to be there. Not necessarily starting, but deserves to be there. Who are your right backs, Luke?
I've gone for 3 as well.
Okay.
I've gone for Reece James, who I've really liked this season at Chelsea, and
done well.
Paul Cook was responsible for his development at Wigan, where I think from memory he'd played in almost every position. I've put Kyle Walker in there. You know, England right back for so many years, also can play centre half, which as a back three, which Southgate likes to do. I'd probably expect him to be there. And I've also gone for Trent Alexander-Arnold. The reason being is probably before he was dropped out of the England squad, his form wasn't that great. But even if he's not playing, because obviously there's questionable over his defensive ability, just having him there for someone that can take set pieces, that has that cross that he does. In that case, for me, Trippier doesn't make my squad, but in my case, it's Alexander-Arnold, Kyle Walker that can also play centre half, and Reece James.
Trippier's had a better year than TAA.
I think it's just me. Like I really do love Trent Alexander-Arnold. Maybe it's just me being, there's always that one player.
Trippier just won La Liga. He just won the La Liga, Kurt. Surely you've got Trippier in your 26.
I mean, La Liga, it's about as good as the French league. It's piss easy. So I wouldn't rate it that highly, but. No, you know what? I'm gonna go out there. I wouldn't even be putting Trent on the plane. I wouldn't even be putting him on the plane. So for me, I think Kyle Walker would be my starting one. He'd be my starting right back, and then I would have Reece James as his backup. I just don't think, especially after the season he's had, I just don't think he warrants a place in that team. It's one of them. We went through so many years of having players that, like, for God knows whatever reason, they were getting picked purely because of the club they played for. If you've not had a good season, I don't want you in that national team squad, because let's face it, if your form was poor throughout the season, I don't want you taking that in to possibly harm our chances in a national competition. I mean, I know Chelsea ain't done amazing. They've not pulled up any trees, but I think for me, you bring Walker as your starting one, and then you bring Reece James as a backup in case of any injury or any dropout that needs to happen for me.
Okay. Defence, centre halves then. Who have we got? We've got Connor Cody, Eric Dyer, Michael Keane, Maguire, Stones, Tawalski, Tamori. Who are we going for, Kurt? Who's your centre halves that are on the plane?
For me, I think it's gonna. I would start Stones. I would start Stones. I think he's had a very good season where it's almost a resurgence of his old self.
Yeah, agree.
And then for Harry Maguire, I think will start. I don't want him to start. I don't want him to start. I really do have a soft spot for Tyrone Mings. I think he, whilst he might be a little bit ropey sometimes, I think there's something about Mings where he does tower over. He towers over a lot of other people. And for me, I think if we're going to be a team that tries to float in crosses or tries to do anything like that, we need a big man in the middle who possibly is going to rough up someone, rough up an attack, and I think Mings is that. For me, it would be Stones and Mings in my partnership, but I can see Southgate going for Stones and Maguire.
Okay, Luke, Stones, Maguire being mentioned. Have you got a third one there for us?
I've gone for 4 centre halves on mine.
Go for it. Go for it.
Gone for Stones, Maguire, Connor Cody, and Tyrone Mings. I just think, I'm kind of going for the fact that they're players that have constantly been picked for England qualifiers and that before. It's all right, people saying, you always get the odd pick like Ezri Konsa as well. Obviously, he's had a very good season at Aston Villa, and a lot of people are probably saying that he's had a better season than Mings. Obviously, you've got people like James Tarkowski and Lewis Dunk that people have been talking about as well. But I think based on those that, for me, that I trust, there is potential to play in a back three, which obviously is the system that Southgate seems to think well with England. I think those of John Stones, Maguire, Mings and Cody are the 4 that I'd take if it was me anyway.
Okay, moving into the attacking areas. So talk to me about your midfielders: right midfield, left midfield, centre midfield. Kurt, who's in your midfield options?
Let me have a look at the names. I'll let Luke go first. Let me have a look at the names, and then I'll
go for it, Luke.
Tell you what.
Okay, I'll start centrally, and we'll go from there because there's a bunch of names in here. So I think for me, Jordan Henderson. I know he's not played this season, which is the problem. And if he doesn't play this,
really, I thought we moved away from him. Never rated him. Never rated him.
Yeah, I think to be fair, there's always that kind of player that is a bit marmite. So yeah,
better vibes.
Yeah. I've gone for Calvin Phillips, who I thought has been really good this season for Leeds. Where am I?
Is he injured though? He has had an injury, hasn't he? And so there is a fitness question mark over him now. I think they were waiting for a scan. So we'll wait and see on that one. But we'll go with that. Next one.
Declan Rice, gone for him.
Yeah, don't scare him.
Very good season. And as someone that's not in my squad at the moment, but obviously could come in, whether that be Henderson not fit, is James Ward-Prowse. I really do like him. I don't know why many other higher up teams in the league haven't gone for him in the last couple of years. Even if it's just to bring him on for a set piece, if you get a free kick, 85th minute, and you need to get a goal to get that win, then he's the guy to come on. I think centrally, those are the guys that I'm going for. Obviously, you can put Mason Mount in there as well. Obviously, more attacking wise. I think he's had a really good season. Really good season with Chelsea. Another one you could play centrally, maybe out wide. Obviously, Phil Foden as well, and Jack Grealish are those that kind of more attacking wise, but also can play centrally as well. I'll let Curtis start with those, go centrally, and then we'll go out wide, go from there.
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of a gripe with players who swap the nationalities when another one comes knocking along.
So not Declan Rice then.
So in my opinion, Declan Rice is completely in the bin. I'll take Cruncher's same.
Skip.
And Grealish can also go in there. He can jog on as well. So that's two players who who are definitely not even getting a ticket on Ryanair. For me, I think I'm gonna throw one out. I think Jesse Lingard's had a very good season. I would be taking Jesse Lingard after the season he's had. Phil Foden, I think he, purely his tactical awareness alone and the age that he's at, I genuinely believe Phil Foden is going to be, and it's not a surprise to anyone. He will be one of the world's best players if he can stay fit. I was watching the City game yesterday, and he's won something like 7 trophies, and he's not even 21 yet, and he could win the Champions League this Saturday. I would take Phil Foden and Jesse Lingard. I would even take, in my opinion, I would take Mason Mount. I would take Mason Mount, and
you got to,
and then I'd bring Dele Alli back in from the cold. I would, as a bit of a throwaway one there. I would bring Dele Alli back in from the cold. I think there's just something about Dele Alli, and I think Mourinho did. I think he took the joy out of football for him. And from what I've heard of people now, I think Ryan Mason he's almost injected that love of football back into him. And from what I've heard, he has started to look like the Dele Alli of old. So for me, my 3 in the middle would be Foden, Lingard, and Mount for me. But like I say, Dele Alli could be me kind of backup midfielder there.
Wild card. Out wide positions then. Who are we now going to supplement that with with left and right? Give me another names, Luke.
Yeah, obviously, as I mentioned before, Grealish, Mount, and Foden could all play wide. They have done before. There is a player I've written down here, but I'm always on the fence with him, and that's Raheem Sterling. I don't know what it is with him in general. It's just when you watch him for England, he gets these really good opportunities sometimes, and it just doesn't fall for him. But he's that kind of player that, I do feel in a way that maybe we're carrying him, and obviously he's just won the Premier League with Manchester City, and if I wasn't to include him, there'd be this uproar. But I'm a bit on the fence with Raheem Sterling. Obviously, Jadon Sancho, I think he's had a really good season again for Borussia Dortmund. I watch a lot of Bundesliga when I can, and constant goals, constant assists is what you need from your wingers. I put Marcus Rashford down there. I much prefer him on the wing than up front, and having him on that left-hand side where he's proven to be a very important player this season for Manchester United in their second place finish in the league. For me, that fills out my wide players.
Yeah. Kurt, anyone different?
For me, I'm going to say Sancho. I'm going to say Sancho is going to be in that squad. I agree with Sterling. I think there's something about him that I think he's whilst he might get quite a few goals a season, there's just something about him that he never fills with or so much confidence when he's through on goal or when he's bursting towards the opposition box. I think even at his stage in the career now, I still think he needs like 30 chances to get 10 goals. There's just a style of play about him that I don't understand. He would be starting for me though. He would be starting. I would have Sancho. I
don't think he's a natural goal scorer.
No, he's not. But I would have. I know you mentioned there, Bukayo Saka as possibly like your wing back. I'd have him on the wing. I think from what Arsenal fans are saying, he's very much been their bright spark this season. He really has been their bright spark this season. I'd have him as a backup winger, and you never know. So these young lads who come on in these tournaments. I mean, like I remember when Rashford was just making his mark on the national team, and then when he came on as a sub, I think it was against Australia, was it? And the roar that he got from the crowd when these young lads come on. It does light a fire in the stomachs, especially at such a massive competition. So when you get these young lads on the bench who are going to want to make an impression, sometimes it can scare living daylights out of the opposition because they've got nothing to lose. These young lads, they've got long careers ahead of them, and let's face it, they're already out. Let's say big clubs at the moment, so they're only going to get better with age. I would have Saka as one of my wingers in that team.
Okay. Mason Greenwood, Ashley Bell asks.
Striker.
Yeah. Would he be in your squad?
Yeah, he's up front. I wouldn't waste him out on the wing. I think he's for his age. I think he's very clinical. He's young, and I think he went through that bit of trouble where he obviously got kicked out of the England camp with Foden. So he's had a bit of a kick up the arse, and I think he's going to be coming back with something to prove again. But he's up front for me with Kane. With Kane, in my opinion.
Okay, Luke Lingard.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to talk about strikers. I'll touch on strikers now. I'll talk about Lingard. I've obviously got Kane. I've put Calvert-Lewin down, which I really think we should. I think as a backup, he offers something different to what we already got.
Yeah, I agree.
I've put down someone that we haven't probably mentioned, but is a consistent goal scorer at Premier League level. Obviously, there's that injury questions over him. I've gone for Danny Ings. I just think there's something about him. I really do like him. I would have put Mason Greenwood in my side. It purely just comes down to numbers. I'm just trying to think in multiple different positions, and I want us to just be as strong as we can in certain places. And I think if you look at those striking options in Kane, obviously Rashford can play there as well. Calvert-Lewin and Ings, that's a lot of goals, people that can come on, and you're taking into account that maybe you might go into a tournament and what if Kane gets injured? You can't put all your hopes on someone like Greenwood. I think having someone like Ings there as well, who's been known for scoring 20 plus goals the last couple of seasons, at least over that, I think is a shoo-in in my side. And just because of squad size, Greenwood doesn't fit in for me. But if there was a chance to fit in, I would have probably done it.
I guess Danny Ings is a little bit different to what you're used to as well, or what you're listing there with Kane and whatnot. Lingard, someone's mentioned in the chat. What are you saying?
It's a strange one. I think we're so lucky. Well, normally it hasn't been the case, but we're so lucky in the amount of attacking midfielders we can put in. You've got people like Mount, Grealish, Foden. I think there's too much talent in there to include Lingard, in my opinion. As good as the season he's had with West Ham, for me, in a way, I think the way I look at it is consistency over a period. And unfortunately for Manchester United, it just hasn't worked out for him in the last year or so. I think going to West Ham and getting away from being under Bruno Fernandes's shadow has done him well for Lingard. But for me, I think it's a little bit too soon for him. I just think the people that we have in attacking midfield, the likes of Grealish, the likes of Foden, the likes of Mount, and those kind of players, I just think it makes it harder for me to include Lingard.
I guess a player like Kieran Walker makes it easier to take Jesse Lingard. And what I mean by that is that Walker can play right centre half or right back, or even left wing back at a pinch. So you could take one less defender based on his versatility on a 3 or a 4, and take one more attacking option, and that could be Lingard. Because as Ashley Bell says, and rightly so, Lingard's on fire. Okay, he's how can you not take one of the best players in the Premier League at the moment?
I've said this. I've said to friends before. There's two clubs in the Premier League that I think are almost poison chalices for players. I think Spurs is a horrible job to take as a manager. I think if rumours are correct and that's what Nuno's going for, I genuinely believe that will be the downfall of his management career, and I don't think we'll see him manage another Premier League club after that. And I think I think Man United as a club for players, it's almost like your Premier League version of Ipswich. Players stayed at United because they were comfortable. They stayed at United because they were comfortable. Lingard stayed at United most of the time because whilst he was getting a game here and there, he was comfortable. And then when he's been out of the team, he wanted to play games still. He's gone to West Ham, and to be fair, I always was of the opinion that he was not that good. I thought he was very much mid-table Premier League. I thought he was even relegation fodder at one point. I didn't think he deserved a place at such a massive club like that. But he's gone to West Ham and he's had a season that I don't think anyone expected, and he's shown the quality that he can produce when some people have probably written him off, because I think a lot of people see him as just this online personality that he's a bit of a knob, and I genuinely think that after the season he's had, you've got to base it off their current form, and I think he will want to make an impression, as will everyone in this tournament. But I think Lingard has to go. Whether that's starting, I don't know. But I think he has to go. I've seen a few comments there saying that they take Watkins as a striker, and I would be wary. I would be wary because what is it? I think this is his first season in the Premier League, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's his first season, so I would be wary of taking Watkins. I mean, again, who knows? It could work out, and he could set the competition ablaze. Unlikely, but he could, especially with Kane ahead of him. Ings would be a good backup striker, in my opinion. Only not this season gone, but I think last season he was runner up to the Golden Boot.
Yeah,
runner up to Golden Boot in the Premier League. So he is a consistent goal scorer, and he's a very, very good option to have as a backup. It's just a shame for me that a player like Jamie Vardy, in my opinion, is retired. He retired from international football so early, in my opinion. I just think a striker like Jamie Vardy, who, without being funny, he gets on fans' nerves. He knows how to rub fans up the wrong way. But
you can't have him. He's not available for selection.
No, and that's what annoys me, because I think in terms of striking options, I don't think we've got another player like a Jamie Vardy. I don't think we've got someone who will rub the wrong way. And I just wish that was an option, because he'd be on there all day for me, even at his age now. But no, I think what does Southgate play? Does he play one up front, two up front?
Two, isn't it? 3-5-2 he plays.
Yeah. So for me, I think I'd have Greenwood there. He's got young legs. He's got something to prove at a major tournament, and
he'll put 3 past Scotland.
We've got a good history of blooding in these youngsters in big tournaments. We've got a good history of it. So I'd have Greenwood partnering Kane up front. I think Kane's got a lot to prove this summer now, seeing as he wants out of Spurs. So I think he needs to have a good tournament. I think if he has a bad tournament, I don't think he'll leave Spurs. I think it's very tough for a player to get out of a 6-year contract. I know you don't read too much into contracts these days, but I think a 6-year contract, and especially under the chairman of what Daniel Levy is, I think it would be very tough for him to break a contract of that nature. But I think if he has a good tournament, then I think you've got about 4, 5, 6 clubs all chasing after him. But yeah, I think backup striker wise, Ings will be there. Watkins wouldn't make it for me. Watkins wouldn't make it for me. I've just seen Ashley Lewis there say Ivan Toney, absolutely not a chance. I think I'm a bit like Hawks. In my opinion, I don't think he's going to do anything next season. I don't think he's going to do anything.
I'm surprised.
Just to clarify, 3-4-3 is what he's been playing recently. Not 4-3-3, not 3-5-2, not 4-4-2, 3-4-3. Go on, Luke. As we round up, last point.
Yeah. I'm surprised nobody's mentioned Patrick Bamford. I know that I would go for him, but
good God, no. Ashley Bell, Daniel Levy will get every penny out of Kane like he did for Bow. Dan Whitty says Scotland win Euros for me. He may be biased, as is Matt Gunner, who says Scotland had the 2 best left backs in your league. Love it. Love this banner already flying around the chat. We'll be here through the European Championships. We'll bring some match day tickets for the England game, some big games as well for the Euros. So hopefully all your favourite contributors and the ones you love will be with us. Kurt, Luke, wink, wink, to sit and give us their opinion on everything. Colin says Scotland to win the Eurovision. Good grief on that bombshell. Luke, last point, and I'm going to press the button and close up the show. Go for it. Your last point? Have you got a last point or not?
No, I haven't. No.
Perfect. Right. Well, in that case, we'll see you all tomorrow for our Molly Sutherland Ipswich Town Women's Special. And after that, back on on Thursday. I'll leave with the American owners ending, I think. Here we go.